Good evening, Cricut family South Africa. My name is Soraya. Welcome to this Facebook Live. I'm gonna wait a few minutes to see if you can hear me and see me. Please let me know in the comments. Good evening. I see people starting to join. Please let me know in the comments. Hello Karen, how are you? I'm gonna wait a few minutes to see if you can hear me and see me. Hello Raksha, welcome to this Facebook Live. Hello Yuli. Okay, I think you can hear me and see me. Let me introduce myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is Soraya Adolf. I'm a Cricut ambassador, and today we are going to be doing an intermediate class, which I'm very excited about. We're going to wait a few minutes for people to join. I see Sarah, Krabashni. Hello, welcome, Judy. I'm very excited about this class today. If you've worked with veneer before, please let me know. I'm very interested to see which one of us has used veneer. Hello, Zelda. Okay, so I think we can get started. So before we get started, as always, this class is proudly sponsored by Cricut and Logitech. It is recorded, so if you cannot stay the whole time, you can watch the replay. Just go to the event section. Or if you are doing the project and you need a refresher, you can always go back and watch the replays. That's really great. Okay, let's get started. So today the project we are doing is we're learning how to work with veneer. And the project that we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a veneer letter. So the idea for this class was to make a letter or some kind of nursery decor. So that's what I wanted. So one of the things that I absolutely love about wood veneer, the Cricut wood veneer, is that you can do some beautiful detailing. So you can see, if I bring this up close, look at the beautiful detailing right here with the elephant. It's just such a beautiful look. Here we have some grass with the giraffe, and here we have a bit more detailed. So that's what I love about the veneer, but also just look how beautiful this material is. So Karen said she's made veneer earrings. This is absolutely great for making earrings. Veneer earrings are so cute. They're one of the fun projects to do with veneer as well. So a little bit about veneer. Veneer is a natural wood. So it is a wood, and so in order for you to cut veneer, you are going to need the deep point blade. So this is the deep point blade. It's the black blade. So the great thing about veneer is it is thin enough so that you don't need the knife blade. So the other woods, the more thicker woods, you will need the knife blade in order to do that. So you cannot actually use your Explore series to cut other woods, but the veneer, you can actually cut the veneer with, well, you should cut the veneer with the deep point blade, and the deep point blade can actually work with the Explore series. So if you have the Cricut Explore series or the Cricut Makers, you can do this project. That's what I absolutely love. The veneer does come in different colors. So this one is the cherry. How beautiful is that? And the one that I've used for this project is the walnut. So you can see it is real wood, there is grain, and so that's the reason why you need the deep point blade. And also, to make sure that your project works really well, we're also going to need the StrongGrip Mat and the brayer, our best tool when doing this project. And lastly, we're also going to need masking tape. Okay, so let's go over to Design Space so that we can get started. Hello Lolly, you're just in time. Okay, so this is what the project looks like. We've shared the project link and you can follow along with me, but you can always come back and do the project. So I'm just going to click Customize. Okay, so this is what our project looks like on our canvas. So what I've done here, you can see I've got this R that is an outline. The reason I did this is because I wanted to use this between whatever my base is and the veneer, which I'll show you a bit later. So I'm going to hide that for now and zoom in here so we can see exactly what our project looks like. So we've got different animals here and there's an outline. So I'm going to hide this as well and hope that I can remember exactly how we did this design. Alright, so the first thing I did was add text to my canvas. I'm just going to make this big and it was an R. Oopsie. So usually I do these projects for my nieces, but I actually decided this time to do it for my little nephew. He's the baby of the family, so that is what we're going to do. So for this kind of project, what you want to do is you want a bold font. You want something that's quite chunky, something that you can embed all these little different animals in. So we're going to come over to fonts here. And as always, as you know, I love the new Cricut feature where you don't have to click on all the fonts to see what they're going to look like. It's right here for you to see. So for this, you can filter. So I would filter, for example, sports is quite a good font, quite a good option. Styles, for the sport, you get quite a few boy fonts that you might want to use. Industrial's also a great one, and the other one, brush, is a good one, and chunky. So if you don't have a favorite bold font in mind, you can just filter up here and just go through and see what would look good. So what I did is I bookmarked the font that I used, which was called Birthday Bash. And it's the first time I've actually used this font. So the reason I use this font is because of these little sections here. So the section here at the bottom, these little spots, I thought they're perfect to put grass or animals or whatever it is. It kind of gives us a little bit more place, more space to play around. So the first thing I did was resize this to the size I wanted, and I wanted to go with 22 by 25.5. And now we will have to zoom out. There you go. Z for Zelda. It could be R for Relda. We can change that a little bit. Okay, so this is the first thing we did, was resize our letter. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to create that outline. So let me bring this back and hide this. Create this outline that I've attached the animals to. So for this, I put an offset, and my offset that I used was -0.7. And for this one, I wanted to go with the sharp corner offset, not the round corner offset. So I'm going to click apply. And I'm going to actually duplicate this R here and align them to the center. I should have done that first. And then now I'm just going to grab these two and slice. Okay, so I'm slicing the offset out of the original. So let me make this one black and make my original R cream, just so that we can have an idea of what we're looking like. So this is how I created the start of my project. So now we don't actually need this back piece here, so I'm going to hide it. And I'm going to bring this letter to the front. Now, before we go any further, what I like to do, this is just my personal preference, because I like using different woods, I like using different mediums. When doing a project like this, I actually like to take this outline, duplicate it, okay, I call it extra, and hide it and move it to the back. So I'm going to show you a little bit later why. I'm actually going to use this to create a 3D effect when we put the project together. So I'm just going to keep that for later. Next, all I did was look for my images, and so I'm going to go to advanced search. And the first one I looked for is giraffe. I actually looked for safari first and tried to see what kind of safari animals I could find. Now, because veneer, you can do finer detail. Instead of just using a silhouette like this, I actually looked for a giraffe where it has a little bit more detail. So this is the giraffe I did. So you can see the detail in this giraffe is within the silhouette, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to add that to canvas. Okay, sorry, and as always, if you have any questions, please do ask them. I am trying to keep an eye on the chat. If I do miss your questions, we've got some amazing ladies in the chat helping, but you can also tag me and I can answer your question after this. All right, so the next one I did was elephant, and I did the same for the elephant. I looked for something that's got a bit of detail. So again, when I looked for the detail, oh, what happened there? Okay, let's go back to elephant. Okay, so when I looked for the detail with the animals that I used, I made sure that it was all one piece. So this elephant, while it's got some details, all the pieces are separate. Unless I put an offset on this and I worked on it a little bit, it wouldn't work for our project. So you want images like this one. So yes, it's got detail, but you can see the elephant is all one piece. So add that to canvas. Okay, what else did we use? Elephants. Okay, so we use monkeys in trees. So if you look at my project, you can actually see the image numbers for all of the images I use. So I use these monkeys here. Why does this keep going back to the canvas? Keeps kicking me out. Okay, so here's the monkeys. I'm just going to quickly add the rest. So for Safari, I searched Safari, and what did I use from Safari? I used some palm trees. So I used these palm trees here for Safari, and the last one I used was a crane for the birds. And the crane that I used is this guy. Okay, so let's add them all to canvas, and we're going to get back here. Okay, let's move these aside. So the first thing I did, I don't know why, but I decided that any animals that should be on the ground, that should be walking, I wanted them at the bottom of the R, so like the giraffe and the elephant. And then the birds and the monkeys in the trees. That was just my preference. You can't always do that, I know, with designs, but that's kind of what I wanted. So the first one was the giraffe. So for the giraffe, I just deleted this circle. And then the other thing I did for the giraffe, bringing it down here, let me just zoom in. So for the giraffe, I didn't want the tree. So in order to remove the tree, I went to contour. And contouring, if you haven't used it before, it's a great feature. It helps you turn on and off different elements that you don't want to see or that you do want to see. Okay, so you can see here, I'm just selecting all the elements that are attached to the tree. And if I go back here, now we just have the giraffe. So any pieces that are not attached to the giraffe, you can easily contour them out and get them out of your design. Let's turn this to a different color just so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so here, this is our giraffe. I wanted him to face the other way, so I flipped him up here. All right, so when it comes to veneer, because I have quite a few details, so like with the giraffe, the elephant, what I decided, I'm just going to zoom in here for you to see, that I wanted each of the animals, especially the thinner parts, so like here with the giraffe, the tail, to be touching the base, so to be touching the R. So up here where the lock is, you're going to click on the lock so that you can change the size. So you can see here I brought the giraffe in just slightly so that the tail just touches the edge of the R, and I'm going to make him this tall. And now you can see the neck and this part of the body is also just slightly touching the R. So that was the giraffe. Moving on to the crane. Okay, so with the crane, I just flipped it, resized it, and the same here with the crane. What I decided to do for the crane is I wanted one of the, I was gonna say leaves, it's not leaves, it's wings, there you go. I wanted one of the wings to be touching the R and the other wing to be floating. So having one of the wings attached to the R is going to stabilize the crane so that it's not too flimsy, but I can also still get that beautiful detailing. Okay, next moving on to the palm trees. Let's do the palm trees. So for the palm trees, let me move that over here. So all my images are on top of each other. Sorry, let me move them down so you guys can see. All right, sorry, there you go. So for the palm trees, what I did here is I wanted to delete the extras. So I deleted the banner and I deleted the animals because I didn't really want the animals. And then here I actually just used these 3 palm trees on the side. Hello Carol, better late than never. Thank you for joining. Alright, so with the palm trees I contoured the 2 on the left out because I didn't really need those. Okay, let's make this black as well so they all look similar. And where did I put the palm trees? Here. Okay, so the palm trees I also flipped it. I had the solid leaf at the bottom. And then again, using the lock feature here, which is great. I love using this lock feature where you can change the height or width independently. So with the palm tree as well, what I wanted is I wanted the 1 leaf to be touching on the other side, just like this, and then the 2 leaves to be floating. Okay, that's our leaf. What else do we have here? The monkeys probably, and the elephants the most complicated. So let's do that. Okay, let's zoom in. Alright, so for the monkeys, what I did here, let me hide the crane, let me hide the giraffe and the palm trees just so that we can see what I'm doing with the monkeys since they are a little bit more technical. So for the monkeys, I actually used the monkey on the left, and so what I did here was I flipped it and then I placed the little guy where I wanted him. So this took a little bit of time for me to decide. And again, what I wanted is I wanted one piece of the monkey. So I wanted his hand down here at the bottom to be touching the veneer, and I wanted his tail to be touching the veneer as well. So I just played around until I felt the proportions were good. And I wanted the tree in a certain spot. Okay, so his hand is touching and the tail, but I'm going to bring that down just slightly. So it was something like this. Okay, so it's not exact. It took some time for me to just kind of work around and figure out how I wanted it. And so now for the monkeys, what I did is bring back this R that I've moved. Okay, so let's leave my R. I'm just going to duplicate this sliced R, but I'm just going to put an offset because I've already set my giraffes and everything. So when you do a 0 offset, it's kind of the same as duplicating and putting it in the same space. So I'm just going to hide the green R. So this black R is the R that I just put onto the canvas. I'm just going to contour it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this R. Let's make it this color so that you can see. All right, so I'm going to grab this R. I'm going to grab this monkey shape and I'm going to slice. And so what I'll be left with when I bring back my outline is the monkey exactly where I want it. So that's a great way as well for you to kind of make sure that all of your images are within the boundary of your letter that you choose. Okay, so let's bring back the other ones that we've already placed, zoomed out. And so for this letter, I decided that I wanted to be very extra. So you can see there's quite a lot of elements when I was designing. Okay, so here the next one is the elephant. So the elephant, I did also work on the elephant a bit. Okay, there you go. So for the elephant, I wanted to remove the grass from the elephant. So I added a shape. And let's make my shape pink so we can see what's happening. Let's see, there was this piece of grass at the back. So all I'm doing now is I'm building a, what do I call it? A shape for me to slice what I don't want out of the elephant. So let me just move this here. So the difference between how we created the giraffe. So in order to remove the tree from the giraffe, we use the contour feature. With this elephant, however, we can contour out these pieces here. So this little leaves, the leaves that are floating, we can contour those out. But these solid pieces of grass here at the bottom, we cannot contour them out. So I'm going to show you. So you can see here, if I contour the grass, which I can't, the whole elephant disappears. And the reason for that is because the grass is attached to the main piece of the elephant. So in order for me to adjust and change this image, I need to use the slice feature. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to use some shapes. You could use squares. I'm going to use circles just because of how my image is shaped. Do I have grass in the front of my elephant? No, I don't. So let me bring this here because I don't have any grass in the front of the elephant. Okay, so I'm going to add this here and I'll need another circle. I should probably use a square. let me use a square. Okay, the reason I'm using circles is because I want them to follow the shape of the grass, but up here I can use a square or a rectangle to cover this piece. Can I do shapes? I can do shapes. Can I get it all? There you go. Let's tilt this slightly. There you go. So now you see what I've done. All my little random shapes. All my little random shapes are going to cut out what I don't want. Karen said you could slice some and contour the rest out. Absolutely. The pieces that were floating around, I could just contour them out and then slice the rest, but because they're all pretty much on top of each other, I just decided to, whoopsie, I moved that all by accident. Because they're all pretty much on top of each other, I just decided I'm gonna have to slice in pretty much the same area anyways, so I might as well slice it all. So what I'm gonna do is all the pink little shapes, I'm gonna weld them together. I'm gonna grab all of this and then I'm going to slice and delete, delete, and here's my little elephant. So you can see here, if I zoom into this part of the elephant, that it's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be, because we are putting my elephant up against the R and it's going to be absorbed into the shape of the R, so it really doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to flip the elephant. I wanted him to go a little up. Let's turn my palm tree slightly. And so for the elephant here, what I also did, I did the same thing with the elephant. So you can see the elephant tail is quite delicate because it's open up here, and then the ear here as well. You can see there's quite a small piece. So when I used the elephant, what I decided to do was make sure that the piece of the ear is attached to the R, and one of the trunk is, no, not the trunk, with the horns, oh gosh, what do you call these things? It's horns. One of the horns, no, it's not a horn, rhinos have horns, somebody help. So one of the tusks, that's it. All right, so one of the tusks are touching the R, again to add stability. Okay, and then this top piece here of the ear also touching the R again to create stability. So it is going to give me that beautiful detail still, but it's going to be quite stable. And then the other one I wanted is for this piece here to also be touching. Please don't laugh that I called an elephant tusk horns. Alright, so pretty much that is exactly how I created this. And then the last thing I did was with the giraffe, I put some of the grass from the elephant that I sliced out earlier. Instead of deleting it, I actually put it here next to the giraffe. But I won't do that for now. What I did next was grab all of this and combined weld. Now if you think that you might want to adjust the elements, or you might want to change one of the elements out, then instead of combine and weld, you can combine and unite. That gives you the opportunity to adjust the design if you feel like it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it all, combine, weld. Okay, so this is how I created our design. Let's make it this color. Let's bring back our R. Let's make it black and align center. Okay, so this is our design. The last thing I did was look at my design to see if when we combined and welded, if there was any small gaps that I created that I didn't want. So for example, I don't see any right now. Okay, let's undo this. Maybe I should have combined and united, but let's make, let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna move this to here. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about. And I think this really did make a difference in my project. And when I'm working with woods, I like to do this as well. It's just a little extra step that I like to take, and I think it does make a difference. Oh boy, what did I just do? Sorry. I want to align center. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So you can see here between this palm tree and the base of the R, there is a little bit of a gap here. Now, for me, this is a very small gap. It's not going to make a difference in my design, whether it's there or not. It's not really part of what I need to see with my design. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my welded piece. Let me just swap the colors around so that we see better. So I'm going to go to this welded piece. I'm going to contour, and I'm going to zoom in here if I can. And it's not letting me go to the side. Oh boy. Let's back. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is try to contour out this dot, but it's not letting me move, so I'm going to do it from here. So I'm just going to click on this dot and try not to click on the wrong thing, which I think I am, but I think you get my point. I can also find it here and contour it out. So if you see anything like that, so you can zoom into your design and look around. My Mac works differently with the contours, so I'm not sure why it's not letting me zoom in. So basically, just go through your design, and if you see any small little pieces or small pieces that you don't really need, just contour them out. Get rid of them, make it a solid line, and it's going to actually help with your cut, and you're going to get a better result. So I'm going to delete this because we already have our piece here, or our design that's ready, and we're going to get ready to cut our design. So I did say I was going to show you what this extra piece here is for. Once we go to the mat, I will show you. So we did keep it here as well, but we can delete it. Okay, so let's go to make. And my laptop is angry with me. Okay, let's go here. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about with that extra R. So what I did with my design is I put it on a piece of chipboard. So today we're not actually going to cut out the chipboard. We're only going to cut out the veneer because that's what the class is. We're going to be learning how to cut veneer, but I will show you how you can use it. But that extra piece that I said keep it aside, that's what this is. So whether you are using chipboard or if you're using another piece of veneer, if you're using basswood, I always keep the outline until I'm I've decided what I want to do with my project, because that's the piece that I used to cut out this piece. And so what this did is it made my project 3D. So that's what that little piece is, and the reason why I said you should keep it. All right, let's go back to Design Space. Hello. Okay, there you go. So because we're not cutting out the base, which is the chipboard on my design, I'm going to hide it, and I'm also going to hide the outline as well. I'm going to go to make. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it slightly down and slightly over. And the reason for that is because I'm going to be using masking tape to hold it down. I'm just giving myself a little bit of room. Okay, then I'm going to click continue. I'm going to choose my machine. And here you can search for veneer, and what will come up is natural wood veneer. So I'm going to select that and click done. So let's move over to the mat. Okay, so first things we want to do is we want to move the star wheels over to the right hand side. The reason for this is because we don't want them rolling over the veneer, because it's going to create a little indent or kind of create little marks on the veneer, and we don't want that. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our blade is clean and there's nothing stuck on it. Okay, so we're using the D-point blade. So now with the veneer is double-sided. So veneer is very thin. It is natural. It is a genuine wood. It is very thin, but it is 2-ply, so that's why it is double-sided. So when you place it on the mat, you need a very sticky StrongGrip mat for this. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this here. So we're gonna be using our StrongGrip mat, and we want to put our veneer with the grain running this way. So the grain running lengthwise. So you can see it here. So you can see my grains going this way. Most of your projects, you are going to place it on your mat with your grain running the lengthways of your mat. There are a few projects where I'm just trying to decide which part of the veneer I like best. So I think I like this pattern up here. So I'm going to put it this way. So most of your projects, your grain needs to be running this way. There are a few projects where you can put it with the grain running this way. But that's generally to do projects that are called wet forming projects, where you want to bend your veneer. So if you want to bend your veneer and create curved shapes like flowers, for example, then you would put the grain running this way, your flowers would cut out this way, and so you could bend it once you soak them. But 90% of your projects, you want to make sure the grain's going this way. Okay. Next, we want to make sure that we are braying this on really, really well. And then we're going to be using masking tape to hold it down. So Claudia said, oopsie daisy, that she loves the color, that she has the lighter sheets. The veneer comes in 3 different colors. So I've got this walnut, which I love. I've also got the cherry and the other one. So the cherry is one that's got a slightly reddish or pinkish tint to it. I almost missed that completely. A slight reddish tint or pinkish tint to it. That's the cherry. And the maple is the lighter one. So when you're placing your tape, you want to make sure that you don't get it on the parts that are going to be cut. So I'm just going to, and you don't want to put it over your mats because that is going to affect how it rolls. Let me use my thinner masking tape, although it's almost finished. That's why I'm using this thicker one, but the thinner one will be easier to just apply without having to cut it. Okay, my mat is very I'm just ripping this masking tape. It looks great. So my mat is very sticky, so I don't necessarily need to tape it everywhere, but you do want to make sure that it's not going to move. Again, making sure where you need to cut that you're not going to cover that, and I hope I've moved my image across enough. Okay, so just making sure again that I've braided, and now we're ready to load our mat. And cut. So when it's cutting, it is going to do 2 passes. So it's not going to take as long as cutting basswood or chipboard, but it is going to do 2 passes. Something I make sure when I'm cutting any type of wood, even though this wood is a thinner wood and I'm not using the knife blade, I don't leave my machine when it's cutting wood. And the reason for that, especially with this veneer wood, you can cut really small pieces, you can cut really fine detail, and there is a chance where a piece may lift up and get stuck on your blade. So I'm always making sure that no pieces are getting stuck on my blade or getting stuck under my roller, so I just keep an eye on it. So you can see it is doing its cut, and our design is quite detailed, but I don't think it's going to take that long to cut. So while that is cutting, can you see me? No, you can't see me. I was going to glue, okay, let's put it up here. So while that's cutting, I'm going to glue this onto my base. So usually I would glue this onto the veneer, but I'm just going to glue it onto the base to save time. To glue it today, I am going to be using Jewel Bond. So this is a Jewel Bond pin. To glue chipboard, you can use hot glue, but I love my Jewel Bond, so I put my Jewel Bond, then I put it underneath my mat to create a little bit of a weight. Okay. Claudia said she had the lighter one. So this is the cherry one, so you can see it's got a slightly pinkish, well, not pinkish, but it's not as light as the maple. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just going to apply wood to my chipboard. Glue to my chipboard. The wheels are falling off. Okay, so just keeping an eye. All my pieces are still where they need to be. So the reason I like using Jewel Bond for wood or chipboard is you really don't need to use a lot to glue it. The key for me is applying weight to the pieces and just letting it dry. Okay, so I'm here and I'm just gluing it. Yuli has the cutest little grandson. I think he does need one of these as well. He's a cute little Cricut baby. Okay, so if you're cutting and you see any of the pieces lifting up, then what you can do is you can press pause and just remove the pieces that have lifted up. Lolly said, if I had a Maker 4, this cut would be done. Yes, the Maker 4 is amazing. It is super fast. Okay, I've got the Maker. Compared to the Maker 4, compared to the Maker 4, my Maker cuts probably like a little snail. But I love my Maker. She's rose gold. But yes, 100%. If this was the Maker 4, it is beautiful. It is slick. It is fast. We would be saying goodbye. Alright, so here I've got my piece on my chipboard. And very quickly, without moving it, Lolly, are you sharing your Maker 4 with me? When did you get a Maker 4? Okay, so all I'm doing here is just making sure that my glue is... Oh. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a pause. I see a piece of wood here, so I'm just going to grab it with my tweezers. So this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes you might find a piece that comes out, so just pull it out, make sure there's nothing on your blade, and press continue. Okay, that can happen when you have really fine pieces, or if maybe there was something on your mat and that piece didn't stuck like 100%, that can happen. So I'm just going to take my chipboard and place it under this mat. I don't have my weight. Oh, I moved it. I usually put my laptop on top of it and just leave it for a little bit so that we can get a little bit of weight on that. While we're nearing the end of our cut, I think. So this is what I use. It's the Cricut Heavy Chipboard. I love working with the Cricut Heavy Chipboard. This is what the back looks like. And then I painted the front. To paint it, I used the charcoal paint. I have this beautiful sample pack, and the color that I used was called Magical Marina. Magical Marina. I thought it was such a lovely safari kind of color. And what I also did when I painted it, I used the sponge so that I could add a little bit of texture. into the back piece, which I think turned out really cute. Okay, what you can also put your veneer on instead of chipboard, you can put the veneer on cardstock. You can use them. So I bought this a few weeks ago for this project because that was going to be my original idea. It is the deluxe paper from Cricut called Modern Graphics, and it's got the cutest little colors in it. So that base piece that I hid, you can cut it out of like a really nice patterned cardstock. It was thinking. I thought the cut was over. It's still thinking. So you can cut your base out of a really beautiful patterned cardstock and stick your design onto that. Claudia said, please share tips on chipboard. So the reason we're not cutting chipboard today is because in my next class we are going to be working with chipboard. So if you come to my next class and if you wanted to do this project on chipboard, you can come to my next chipboard class, which is not next week, the week after next week. We'll learn how to create a fun little Father's Day project using chipboard. So join me. And I actually decided not to use this really cool paper for this project because I'm going to use it for my Father's Day project. Lolly said the Maker 4 is on her upgrade list. One day when I'm a big girl, will get the Maker 4. I actually wanted to redecorate my whole bedroom so it could match the Maker 4. Claudia, yes, be there. Okay, so we're almost done. I lied. Okay, so if you have any questions or if I missed anything and you want me to cover it again, this is the perfect time to ask me while we're waiting for our veneer to cut. I did this project some time ago, so I actually can't remember how long the cut was. So when you remove your veneer from your mat, you want to make sure that you are using some kind of tweezers. I know I've seen some people using the spatula, so it's not great to use the spatula because you can bend and snap the grain. So you want to use tweezers. Ideally a wide nose tweezers, like the ones that come with the brayer. But I think I've given mine away. So I'm going to try use these tweezers to remove my veneer. Twinkle said, what will the Father's Day project be? So it is a desk note, or I haven't named it yet. I have such a hard time naming my projects, but it's going to be a notepad or sticky note holder for the desk, like one of those ones you put on the desk with there's a notepad, or I've made mine with the sticky note pad, like sticky notes. So it's got sticky notes, a pen, space for the pen, and then space with a little design on the other side. So I think it's more like a desk pen holder, note holder type thing, if that made sense. Shanine. So Shanine, if you go to, in Durban, close to me, we have a Just Plastics. So the Just Plastics sell these small what is it? It's 25 millimeters. They just plastic sell these small sizes. So they actually sell these sizes and the bigger size and then the jumbo size as well. So if you're just doing a small project, so I still have some left in here and I've painted 2 of these. So it actually goes a long way. And I really don't know what I'm doing when I'm painting. So if you were a painter, you could probably make it go a little longer. So yes, you can get them from, I know Just Plastics has them. Maybe even a Builders or any of your craft stores that sell choco paint should have these cute little ones. If you have a little girl, this Pretty's Pink would be so great for this project. Actually, the Pretty's Pink with this color would look so cute. Please do share your veneer projects. I would love to see them in the group. And while we're waiting for the last piece here to cut out, just a reminder, there is a challenge going on in the Cricut family group where if you share, update your Design Space profile and you share an image of it with the hashtag, you can enter the weekly competition. So I know it's cut through because my piece came out here, but before unloading, before clicking your unload button, what I always do is take my weeding tool and just pull a small piece out. So here I've pulled this piece out and now I can unload. If it wasn't cut through, what you can do is you can click the C and it will cut again. If you unload and it hasn't cut through, unfortunately you're not going to get it to cut in the same place. So that's a very, very good tip when it comes to using your maker, is to always make sure that your material is cut through before unloading. So I'm just going to move this away so that we can see. Okay, so I'm going to move my tape and we have 2 minutes. I probably am not going to make sure I'm not going to get this off the board in 2 minutes, so we might go over, but please do hang on. Twinkle said, what blade do you use for the chipboard? Twinkle, for chipboard and basswood, you do need the knife blade. So I will show you my knife blade now. You do need the knife blade for that. Shanine said the paint looks like it's really good coverage. So Shanine, what I do when I'm painting, because I'm not great at it and I always get brush strokes. So for my chipboard, I either use spray paint or I use a kitchen sponge to dot the paint on so that I get a really nice finish. So what I'm doing here, you can see I've put my matte protector down and I am slowly removing the matte from my material. So I'm just going to go very slowly. So what I'm going to do first is I just want to get the outline first. And then I will get the rest. Where does it look like? Oh, there. Okay, so I'm just slowly removing the main part or the excess piece of wood first before getting the rest. Okay, so here, this is where you want to use your tweezers. So if you had the wide tweezers, what I would do is actually use the tweezers and lift the veneer off the mat. but because I do what I'm doing here, you can see I'm just rolling my mats off my design very gently. There you go. So that is the pieces that are left. I'm just going to remove it. And now it looks like some of my design didn't cut through. That's weird. Okay, let's move it over. Okay, so I can see some of my outline didn't cut through, and probably what's happened here is my blade maybe had something attached to it. So let me just see what we've got here and how we can fix this. So just very gently, I'm going to take out the center pieces here. Oh goodness. Okay, so it does look like some of my pieces, I'm just gonna have to apply a little bit of pressure to get them out. It's possible that my blade needs a little bit of sharpening, but that's why I have my X-Acto knife. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure, but I am going to do this gently. Okay, so I'm going to support the piece that I'm trying to remove and then just press down gently. Okay, so like I said, just be gentle with your veneer, just because it is quite thin, but I think when my machine was rethinking what it was doing there, it didn't cut quite through some pieces here, which are going to take a little bit of time for me to get through. Okay, so what you would do is, if you have something like this, just use your X-Acto knife to run through the cut pieces where you can see just slightly, and then press to just release it. Okay. And up here as well. So this is the first time, of course, when you are doing a live that this has happened with me. It's happened before with chipboard, but that's mostly because with chipboard, I don't always let it cut through the exact amount of times that you're supposed to with the chipboard. With veneer, it's cut through. Yes, Lolly said with crafting, it doesn't always work out. So here's a tip from me while I try to release this, and I'm just going to go slowly. If you're going to stick around, please do. It might take a little bit of time. But here is a tip from me, and this is something I always tell everyone. If you are new to a material, always do a small test cut. So instead of doing a big project like this, do a small 5 centimeter cut, so that you can see and learn exactly how the material works. Because I've used this material before, I know exactly what to do to not save my project, but to save this piece of veneer so that I don't have to throw it all away. So what could have happened, you can see some of it's cut. What could have happened is my blade, either something could have gotten stuck on it, or my blade is getting blunt, so that could have happened. But again, like I said, I can very easily, you can see here it's starting to come apart, so I can just slowly go through and release it. So what I'm going to do, so that you guys don't sit here for too long, is I'm just going to release the outline of R, and then then I'll show you how I finish the project, and then I will go through and do the more delicate pieces. So you can see I'm just with my X-Acto knife going over where there are cuts already and releasing it. So it just so happened that I removed one of the pieces that are already cut through. But this is actually not too bad. It's literally just following the line here. I'm not even pressing very hard because it's really almost cut through. It's just a small segment that needs to be released. This happens on live TV. I call this live TV. Judy said this happened with basswood. So you don't sharpen your blade, Shanine. What you do is you clean your blade. So if you use your blade quite often, I do, to be fair, use my deep point blade. If you use your blade often and you might have some debris on your blade, or you might have some glue or something like this on your blade, what you can do is just clean it with rubbing alcohol. Any residue that's there, it will come off if you use rubbing alcohol. So just like a cotton bud rubbing alcohol or tissue, that will get any debris on it, off it as well. The other time I would do this is when I am working with glitter cardstock. So for glitter cardstock, you can also use like your deep point blade or even your fine point blade. When I'm working with glitter cardstock, then I always clean my blade afterwards, just to make sure that I don't have any debris. Because if you do have debris on your blade, then what's happening to me right now is that there probably was something on my blade that I didn't notice, and that's why certain parts didn't cut through. And you can see it's actually mostly just the outline, and the outline was the piece that cut very last. So that's possibly what happened. Okay, so we're almost done. Thank you for hanging around, for your patience. We're almost done releasing the border here. Okay, so this is also another reason when you're working with veneer why you do need to be a little careful, because you can see I can easily cut it with my X-Acto knife, so you really don't want to kind of rough handle it, because you can break it. Okay, I promise I'm not going to let you sit through me kind of clearing out the inner pieces, although I do believe the inner pieces are mostly cut out. It's just this outline, which was the last piece, that didn't quite work out for us. That's the one thing with my blade that I found is my blade, this blade is, you know, they last for quite a long time, but if they decide that they're blunt, they decide that they're blunt. So yeah, always check your cuts, do a little test piece, and you should be fine. We're almost there. In my head, I'm just like, just keep swimming. Okay. I'm just going to carefully release the rest of it. See, when you're working with the grain of the wood, you can easily bend it where the cut is, but I really don't want to ruin what we already cut, so I'm just going to be careful. Carrie said it's looking good. Thank you, Carrie. So you can see if I just applied a little bit of pressure and I pulled, I could essentially tear it around where it's already scored, because that's what the blade did. It did a bit of a score. But I really don't want to ruin our pretty design that we made. So I'm just going to be careful. Okay, we did it. Thank you so much. Okay, so here we've done that part, and then all I need to go through and just release the rest of the pieces. I can see some of these pieces aren't actually stuck in, like here by the monkey. I can just press that out, but I'm not going to do it now because we're a little bit over time. So I'm going to go through and I'll just release the rest of the pieces. Sorry that we didn't finish this. I don't want to keep you guys here. But basically, this is what the veneer looks like. You can see it's a bit of a thin piece here. And I will place it onto my chipboard piece and glue it down. To glue it, I'm also going to be using Jewel Bond. Okay, while I'm sitting here talking to you guys, I can still push out some pieces. So I am going to use Jewel Bond to complete my project. So with the veneer, because it is wood and it is grain, you want to use a good glue. Jewel Bond is a glue that I find is going to go really nicely into the pieces of the grain, and it's going to stick. So just a tip about sharpening your blade. You really do not want to sharpen your blade. It cannot be sharpened. I feel like it's tungsten carbide. They made it like a carbide maybe, and you can't actually, yeah, I feel here's some grain that's coming out of my blade. So I think that's what why I cut didn't quite work through. But you can see here, it's actually pretty much cut through. I just need to press them out like in those pieces. So sorry we didn't quite finish our project. If you join me for my next class, I will come back and complete it for you. Now I've lost our other one. So if you join me for my next class, I will come back and show you our completed letter so that you can see exactly how I glued it. But I actually will be probably working with veneer for the next class for the Father's Day project. So you can come back and we can try a round 2 for that. And I actually completely lost somehow in this moment my original arm. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining the class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will put tips on Facebook and tag everyone with the completed project. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, bye.